Good morning, students. This is Mrs. Crumpton, and today we are going to be studying from your Math Connects Course 3 book, section 7-2A, talking about parallel lines. I am recording you live, so if you would like to give a shout out to somebody, you got about 30 seconds.
Awesome. Brady Range is awesome, and Brady Range is awesome. Yeah.
Anybody want to just say, hey, people, or whatever?
Brady Range is awesome.
Okay, that's good.
Hi, Mom. I'm over here.
Hey, moms, and hey, people, and somebody thinks they're awesome. Anyway.
Teacher.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough shout outs. You've tooted your own horn just perfectly. Okay, let's talk about parallel lines. For this section, your learning target, I can examine angle relationships formed by parallel lines and a transversal. All right, take a look here. Now, I started you out just a few minutes ago before I started the recording with defining parallel lines. Who has that definition for parallel lines? What you got?
The parallel lines are lines that run side by side.
They are lines that run side by side, but
Lines in a plane that never intersect or cross.
just a little louder, please.
Are two lines in a plane that never intersect or cross.
That's correct. Parallel lines are two lines in a plane that never intersect and never cross. Now, in case you're wondering what a plane is, we're not talking about the plane that flies in the sky. We're talking about a flat surface. So a plane could be your desk, it could be the floor, it could be the board up front, it could be the iPad that I'm writing on. A plane is a flat surface. Now, these particular parallel lines, which, again, that definition, two lines in a plane that never intersect or cross, these two particular parallel lines are cut by something called a transversal. Who got far enough in looking up your vocabulary terms that you found the definition for transversal? Okay, let's hear it.
A line that intersects two or more other lines.
Okay, for those who didn't hear on the recording, a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. Okay, so we've got parallel lines here cut by a transversal. And when we have parallel lines cut by a transversal, there are some characteristics about the lines that you need to know, which are some of the other definitions. Okay, parallel lines cut by transversal, we form several different kinds of angles, and one kind of angle that we form is called interior angles. That's very good. Yes, interior. If you already know what that word interior means inside, like the inside of the car, the inside of the classroom. Interior angles means the angles inside the parallel lines. Okay? When we talk about exterior,
Outside.
Outside of parallel lines.
we're talking about the angles outside of the parallel lines. So these two lines are these two angles are exterior. And these angles down here are exterior. Make sure you write this diagram down in your notes because you will see it again. Ooh. Guess where?
Test.
Yeah, buddy. On a test.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, bunny, since it was Easter yesterday, huh?
Oh yeah, I guess it is. What did you do?
Alright, so now let's talk about something called alternate interior angles. Yes.
What happens if the line only crosses one of the lines? Like, if there's a parallel line and then only one, like there's a slight line. What happens if, what is it called whenever but that line only crosses one, it doesn't cross the other.
That's a good question, and I can answer it this way. If that line, see how I've got the transversal and I had to draw in the arrows there on the end? If that transversal cuts only one line, but you see that arrowhead here on the end, then that means that arrow continues, or that line continues, and it would cut the other one. It won't erase it. Here we go. Yes, sir. All right, so now let's talk about something called alternate interior angles. Do you know, we discussed that interior angles means inside the parallel lines. What about alternate? If I alternate or alternate, switching. Yeah, switching. All right, so let's talk about alternate angles, alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles refers to angles that are on the opposite side of the transversal. Inside angles on the opposite side of the transversal. So when I'm talking about alternate interior angles, for this diagram, I'm talking about angle 4 and angle 6. Now, the way I drew this, your alternate interior angles, if you draw that just right, you kind of make an S between your alternate interior angles. So 4 and 6 would be alternate interior. And also, angle 3 would be alternate interior angle to angle 5. So your alternate interior angles, and I'm going to abbreviate alternate, ALT, interior angles, angle 3 and angle 5, angle 4 and angle 6. Now there's something else special about alternate interior angles. There's something special about alternate interior angles. Do y'all remember that word last week, congruent?
Yes.
What did that word mean?
Same
Same, not angle. The angles have the same measure. Somebody said it. The angle have the same measure. They're the same size. Somebody else say it. Okay, so we can say that angle 4 is congruent to angle 6. And we can also say that angle 3 is congruent to angle 5. Alternate interior angles. Make sure you're taking your notes on this diagram. Okay, the next type of angles that we're going to talk about are alternate exterior angles. Okay, alternate exterior angles.
So it'd be like outside, so 1 would be a 2, so 1 is approximately equal to 2.
Not quite. 1 is going to be equal to something, but think about the definition that I just had you find for alternate exterior angles. It is angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So what exterior angle lies on the opposite side from angle 1? Opposite side.
2.
Not quite. We're alternating. Our alternate
7.
exterior angle here would be 1 and 7. Okay, we also have angle 8 and angle 2. Now, just like when we talked about alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles are congruent. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 8. Make sure you write this information down from the diagram, because you will need this. You will be identifying these angles. Now we're going to talk about corresponding angles. Okay, who got far enough in looking up your definitions that you found a definition for corresponding angle?
I told her I did.
Anybody got it? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Read it loud.
Are those angles that are in the same position on the two lines in relation to the transversal?
Very good. So our corresponding angles, for those who didn't hear, our corresponding angles are those angles that are in the same position on the two lines in relation to the transversal. All right, so corresponding position, we're looking at angles that are on the same side in the corresponding position.
1 and 2,
One, not 1 and 2, 1 and
4, 7,
1. Same position. Look at your second line here.
8,
8.
Same position. 8's not above the above the parallel line.
5.
Same position would be 5.
So you're just skipping a number.
Yeah. Corresponding angles. 1.
So it'd be 2 and 6. Yep.
Yes.
And 3 and 7.
Yes.
1 and 8.
Yes. And corresponding angles are congruent. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 5.
So they're like circles.
Yeah. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. And I don't have any other color I don't think I can use here. Let's see. Maybe I can get a pink. There we go. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. I did get another color out of that. Corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, now I've given you a whole bunch of information about angles being congruent. Now I'm going to ask you some questions to see if you understand what I'm talking about this angle being congruent to that angle. And I want to see if I give you the angle measure of one angle, if you can figure out the angle measure of other angles. Let me pause it. Okay, considering the information that I've given you about angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding angles, two lines cut by transversal, parallel lines cut by transversal. If I tell you that the measure of angle 1 is 70 degrees, if I tell you the measure of angle 1 is 70 degrees, can you tell me 3 other angles that are also 70 degrees?
2, 8, and 7.
7.
2 is not.
7 is.
5 is. 7 is.
1, 7,
And
and
3.
3. Okay, now how do you know that 1 and 3 are congruent?
Cause they're
3. Cause
They're like-
They're like this. What is like this called? Starts with a V.
vertical.
Vertical. Angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent because they are vertical. But some of you told me that angle 1 is also congruent to angle 5. Why did you say that?
Parallel.
The lines are parallel, yes.
Put the angles on.
The angles, not really.
Oh,
You
But it's one of those definitions that I just gave you.
they come current.
Corresponding. Somebody said corresponding. Corresponding. Angle 1. Let's write down what we know. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they're vertical. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5 because you just told me corresponding. And somebody told me that angle 1 is also congruent to angle 7. Which one of those definitions are you using to get that? Think about the position of the angles. Are they inside or outside?
Out.
Exterior.
Exterior, what kind of exterior?
Alternate.
Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So 1 and 5 are alternate exterior. Very good. Okay, now that you have figured out the measure of angles 1, 3, 5, and 7, what would the measure of angle 2 be? I want you thinking, what kind of angles are these? Angle 1 and angle 2. What do they form?
Acute angle.
Angle 1 is acute. Angle 2 would be obtuse.
Oh, yeah.
But what did that, if I added angle 1 and angle 2, what do I get?
Straight.
A straight line. So can I figure out the measure of angle 2 if I know the measure of angle 1? What's the measure of a straight angle?
180.
180. So if I know measure of angle 1 is 70,
It needs, it's 110.
how'd you get that?
Because 110 plus 70 is 180.
Very good. 70 plus 110. Subtraction or addition? 180 minus 70 gives you the measure for angle number 2, which was 110. So what does that make the measure of angles 4, 6, and 8?
70 and 110.
4 is not going to be 70.
Oh, never mind.
4 is going to be,
4 is 110.
Why is 4 110?
Because it's the same thing as 2, it's just upside down.
yeah.
Good.
And 3 is going to be
And what's the name of these angles?
straight.
They're across from each other.
Vertical.
Vertical.
So I know you say the same thing.
Okay, now what would the measure of angle 6 be?
70.
110.
I got a 70 and a 110. Which one is it?
Because it's up 2.
It's got to be 110 because it's obtuse, but this angle 2 and angle 6 have a relationship. What is the relationship between angle 2 and angle 6? Not parallel.
Corresponding. I mean, not.
Corresponding is correct.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6 because they're corresponding. What about angle 8? How does angle 8 come into play?
Yes, it's 110.
Why is it 110?
It's up 2, 2.
It is obtuse, but what about the relationship, the position?
It's vertical with 6.
It's sort of vertical. Well, it is vertical to 6, you're correct. But what's its relationship with number 2? It's not corresponding. What is the relationship between angle 2 and 6, 2 and 8?
Oh, 2 and 8?
They're not vertical.
Both 110.
They're both 110, yes, but why? Think about those definitions. Where do they lie? Inside or outside?
Exterior.
Exterior, what kind of exterior?
Alternate.
They are alternate exterior.
What number is it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Believe it or not, all of this work that we've done on 7-2A carries us part of the way through to 7-2B and all those vocabulary words that I had you look up before we did 7-1. So we've actually covered most of 2 sections. So here's what I want you to do. Here is our definitions that helped us with sections 7-2A and 7-2B. for a formative assessment, I want you to do problems 1 through 12 on page 411. If you have questions, be sure you ask me. You're going to have some diagrams there, and you're going to be identifying the relationship between the angles. You're going to be figuring out angle measurements just like we did in the diagram that I provided. Your assignment will come from pages 412 through 413, and you will be doing problems 13 through 30. So, your formative assessment, I want us to do those right now so that we can double check, make sure you understand, and then you will have your assignment. Thank you so much for listening. Great job on the live recording today, students, from third period class.
Awesome, yeah!